I was doing things that I normally hate doing, which if any of you know me at all, if you've listened to this, you know that I'm not really the most handy guy. Now, it's not that I'm not, it's just that I don't enjoy doing things like that, right? And I think that oftentimes we understand what we're good at. Like the reason I don't golf is because I'm just not good at it, right? But if I'm committed to become good at it, I'm sure that I could become an avid golfer and would love to golf, right? And I think that was something that I was just reminded of just taking joy in the process of what we're doing on a regular daily basis. And so to unpack what I had done on multiple days throughout this past week was a lot of weeding, like literally down on hands and knees, pulling weeds out of the garden, which so many just reminders that I, just got to spend time with God in prayer as I'm doing this, pulling weeds, pruning. Specifically, it was carrots, which is, I didn't even know what I was weeding initially, and because I have no clue what a carrot looks like. I eventually found out by pulling one up on accident. But then from there I moved on to pruning tomato plants, which was, again, just so many principles that I'm reminded of as we've coached on throughout the King's Council over the past few years. But I think it's always great just to remember these basic principles that God has given us when it comes to this, gardening, as I mentioned, pulling weeds, surrounding ourselves with the right atmosphere. One of the days I was thrown in to just pull weeds, and literally I could not tell the difference between what was supposedly the top of a carrot and just a ton of grass that was there. And so I had to kind of sift through it. And it just reminded me again of like how, as believers, as kingdom entrepreneurs, is there a difference between us and anybody else, between us in the world? If we are of the kingdom, there should be a difference versus us just being a part of the world. There should be a point in time where people can actually see the difference. Now, early on, again, this is just what reminded me of this, was that I couldn't tell in pulling these weeds. And it took some time. It took growth. It took maturation for these carrots to ultimately take root. And I know I've done episodes on this in the past of the number one determinant of every seed, whether it's going to take root or not. The number one determinant is what that seed is surrounded with. Right? Is it surrounded with good soil? Is it surrounded with even fertilizer? Like a couple of the days I was on another part of the farm scooping crap, literally cow manure, scraping it off of these concrete floors and these stalls that they normally would eat in and obviously do their thing. So cleaning that out, bagging it up, hauling it over to the garden, and then spreading that out as fertilizer, right? Again, things that I would hate to do. This is literally why I moved out of South Dakota, was so I wouldn't have to do those type of things. But it was just such a great reminder of why I do what I do. And I hope this is a reminder of for you guys of why do you do what you do on a regular basis, on a daily basis? What gets you excited about when you get up in the morning, when you lay your head down at night, when you're going through all the junk of the day? Is it just to get through the motions? Is it just to get through the day, just to get to the weekend? Are you working for the weekend, or is there joy in this process? Can we find joy in this process of getting to do these things that might not be fun, right? But the Bible, if we've committed to this lifestyle of a disciple, a follower of Jesus Christ, I'm committed to him as Lord of my life. If I've committed to these things, we know that it isn't always going to be fun, but it is going to be worth it. It is absolutely going to be worth it. And if we've committed to this lifestyle, sometimes it's a reminder, it's a nice reminder to know that it is worth it. It can be tough living in the world, being a part of the world, but not a part of it. Let me clear that up. Being in the world, but not of the world. Let's just be clear on that. Like, we have that call to be that. There should be a clear definition or a clear understanding that what we tolerate is a representation of literally what we stand for. The Bible, Jesus says that we are either for him or against him, right? So what is it that we are doing, and how can we still be impactful in a loving manner? And I think these are just some of the things, again, that God just spoke to me over this past week that I just want to dive into it with you guys here over the next few minutes on just some of these basic principles. I talked about the seed, right? We know the number one determinant of every seed that we sow, and hear me on this, guys. You are always sowing. No doubt about it. You are always sowing. And I want us to understand this because I wrote some notes down here as I was flying home, just thinking through this. We are always sowing. And our life today is the harvest of the seed that you sowed in your life over the past year. Okay, you are never not sowing. Your life today is literally the harvest of the thoughts that you have, right? The beliefs that you've taken on, good or bad, the actions that you've already taken or haven't taken for that matter. That is the harvest that you're reaping today. And sometimes this can be like a gut check, right? You may even get mad when I say something like this of like, you don't know what it's like. We immediately take on that victim mentality, that just like, oh, it's not my fault. And at the end of the day, this isn't even about fault. It's just coming to the realization that your faithfulness and the fruitfulness in your life always 100% go hand in hand. The faithfulness and fruitfulness in your life go hand in hand. And as we're always sowing seeds, then we have to understand, like, okay, what am I going to do about this? Okay, so as I was pulling these weeds out in this carrot garden, I started to just see and identify the leafiness of these things are literally like not even an inch out of the ground. Then I'm starting to see the fruitfulness. Now there wasn't fruit, of course, on that plant, but I could see that it was developing, and it was so important for me to get in and around there and pull out the other weeds that would normally suck up the moisture, that would suck up the nutrients that are needed for that carrot to ultimately take root. And you guys know where I'm going with this. Okay, if you have those weeds in your life, those relationships in your life that have to be pulled up, it's not going to be fun. Okay, but it's going to be worth it. If you've committed to this life, Jesus is Lord. There's things that need to take place in order for you to become a mature believer, to no longer need the spiritual milk, but whole food. You actually have to pull these weeds in your life. What you surround yourself with is so stinking important. And again, why I just want to hit home on this is that if you are a new believer and you need community, then get a part of this community. And if we just live life and go unchecked, okay, because at the end of the day, that garden that I was weeding, now it's just amazing, all these things that they're doing by hand down there that we just take for granted in America. But as I'm weeding these gardens, like everything that I was doing, the pulling of those weeds and then pruning of those tomato plants, what brought me joy in that moment, and I think this is something that I just felt like God speaks to me on this, is that I could be joyful in that moment, not because I was going to see that fruit that day. Heck, I'm not even going to see that fruit at all. But it's what we were doing that day was going to be a harvest that these other kiddos in Honduras, these other families, maybe even these other missionaries that are coming in to serve, they're going to be able to eat that fruit. They're going to be able to eat those carrots and the tomatoes, like literally, because of what I was doing today, what I was doing last week. It wasn't something that I could get that immediate satisfaction or that immediate gratification that we so want in America. At least the culture has told us that, right? And it's not like that. It takes time, it takes work, it takes effort. This is why, again, I said everything that you see in your life today is a direct harvest of what you sowed months ago, a year ago. Why? What is so important is the consistency that we take on a daily basis. We need to love our work, whatever that is, whatever we do on a regular basis. That's what all of us want to do. Okay, let me be clear on that. All of us want to love our work, and this is why I think a lot of us are jumping from the next thing to the next thing, because all of a sudden something happens and it's just like, I don't love it, right? Well, too freaking bad. Okay, too freaking bad because you've made the choice. Okay, now you can do whatever you want to do, but this is my mentality with this. This is how we're raising our daughter. Like, if you've made the choice, you're going to see this thing through. Because one thing that I've noticed is that we usually begin to love what we get really good at. Am I right with this? Just like, hear me on this. Passion, I believe passion is a side effect of mastery, not the other way around. Where a lot of people think that once you become passionate about something and then you master it. No. Like, once you master it, then it becomes something that we become passionate about. This is the whole chicken and the egg thing, right? Like, there's the question of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, I'm here to tell you the chicken came first because God created the chicken and then told the chicken to be fruitful and multiply, right? Now, the total side note on that, but this is, I think a lot of us think we want to find something that we like and then we'll get good at it. No. Get good at something and then you're going to like it, right? When I first started doing seminars, I didn't like it because I wasn't good at it, but I knew that there was an opportunity there. And I had to commit to become really freaking good at it. Now it's something that I crave. I love to do it. It's so fun for me because I've mastered this. And this is what I think I want to encourage you on that. Whatever you're doing, if you want to become passionate about it, do more of it. If you're having a tough time staying consistent reading the Bible, do more of it. Commit to this thing. If you want to more passionate about your creator and just, you're like, it's hard for me to pray, then do more of it. Understand this. This is a process, guys. Do the things, do the uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable. And then you become a master at it. And then you become passionate about it. And then you prune some branches. You prune some of those vines and you get back into this process. This is life is a cyclical thing. Okay. It happens. There's seasons in every area of our life, but if you have to commit to excellence, you have to commit to this process. And when you do that with a consistent manner, it's incredible what God will do through you when you make yourself available to him, no matter what it is that you do. If you're scooping crap in Honduras, if you're pulling weeds, like my wife was performing surgery, something that she's mastered, not a surgeon, but the anesthesia portion of it. And look for those opportunities of how I can be available, how I can be of service to you, God. And when we do that, and collectively as a body of believers, as kingdom entrepreneurs, there's a force that cannot be reckoned with. And this is the movement. This is what I believe God is calling us as believers, as those that are willing to step up and no longer tolerate the crap in this world, but say, hey, how can I serve? What else can I do? How can I be an impact here on this earth today and to now, knowing that the fruit, the harvest of the work that you're doing today will not be seen. You may not even see it, right? I mean, the Old Testament is full of this, right? Moses never even got to enjoy the promised land, right? But the seeds that he sowed, the commitment that he had just became so committed to, changed the lives for all of us, right? Understand that. A lot of them never even got to see the fruit of ultimately what they were doing. There's nothing that God cannot do through us when we make ourselves available to him. Remember, your fruitfulness is a reflection of God's goodness in your life. Your fruitfulness is a reflection of God's goodness in your life. Are you willing, though, to do the weeding? Are you willing to prune those branches? Are you willing to do the work in order to produce the fruitfulness, which would be the reflection of God's goodness in your life? We'll see you guys on next week's episode.